Welcome back to a new episode of Buff Breakdown. We got a random new buff today, which makes sense considering yesterday they announced Edmond Dantes and Uchi Wakabaru to be playable in the game Melty Blood. So now we have a commemorative thing on FGO as well, which includes this lovely little buff for Mr. Dantes, his second one ever. That's the only one we have for today, but honestly, It might be a boring buff to some, but it will be an impactful one, I can already tell you. And if you saw the title for this video, it probably implies the same thing. So, let's get on with it. They obviously already had buffed his MP, so now we're gonna take a look at this skill buff. It's to the second skill, the Golden Rule. This was the reason he was able to kind of like loop in the first place, right? But now, what did they do? They added two things. Cooldown remains the same. MP gain remains the same, but now comes with an up to 30% battery and a completely second new effect, which is a very unique one. Not like a revolutionary one, but in the way it works is kind of unique, in that now for 3 turns when you activate this skill, every crit that he makes removes one latest buff from the enemy. Now, if you don't know what that means, the buff latest means it's the rightest one, like the most further one to the right. Same for the enemy, same for the allied servants, okay? So you're always going to start removing from the right. So every crit removes one buff that can be removed. Now let's talk about that first, because that really is the smaller part of this. I think it's the cooler part, but in reality, I don't think it will really be all that amazing or effective. For farming, it's kind of completely useless. Let's just get that out there. But for bosses, it will have some use, for sure. But a lot of the times, the best buffs on bosses tend to be unremovable anyway. So I think buff removal has gone down a little bit in value over the years. It used to be a lot better when bosses didn't have that many, like, you know, really strong unremovable buffs. It's still cool though, but honestly, this wouldn't be the second effect that I would have added. I would have just made, let's say, make his DPS better by, let's say, adding a star absorb, because again, he kind of wants to crits, but he has no absorb. He's an Avenger. His, you know, base one sucks. Or if you want to make him a bit more survivable, give him like a hit-based invul or dodge or something. Dodge would probably make more sense based on his lore. Or just like a one-turn dodge as well. It doesn't have to be hit-based. Maybe even a guts, I don't know. So, while I do think, you know, the second new effect, the buff removal, is a cool one, especially the way it works, I don't think it will be that impactful for him. Now, let's talk about the battery, because here I think it really, it will have a big effect. Now, you might asking why. What does a 30% battery do? I'll tell you what it does. Big thing. He can now loop farm with a Black Grail, the best C in the game. That's where everyone wants to be as farmers, if it's possible. And now in his case, if you run triple Scotty, double ruler, and a caster, it is very much possible. In fact, with triple Scotty, his refund is so good that he might even be able to loop on 2 enemy waves. Yeah, I said that, yeah. We don't have the exact calcs yet, but, you know, let's just talk about the numbers then. So, we have some old and some new stuff. If you see here, it says, you know, either setup, upgrade, or new. The top one is the only one that he kind of used to do. He needed a super scope, right? He couldn't really do anything else. Double ruler Scotty, super scope. If you added a triple Scotty, it's a bit easier. But now, if you want to run double, you can, after this buff, also run traces. And, like I said, with the new buff, as noted here on George's comments, on both of these things, he can potentially now loop on 2 enemy waves, right? That's something not to be discounted, honestly, because a lot of the times nowadays the hardest farm nodes are never 3-3-3 layout anymore, right? Or even 3-3-1 or something. A lot of the times there's hardly ever 3 enemies. So this opens up some possibilities for him to be used in 90++ as well, which is significant. Now, if you go with the Black Grail option, triple Scotty, you can see that the damage is actually fairly significant. This is like among there with the best quick loopers in the game from the top of my head. Otherwise, like top 5 would probably be, because I did some research before the stream. We got Sen no Rikyu, we got Cavern, We got Charlemagne, and Okitan Saber, Summer Okitan. And now, I think Dantes is also among the top 5 now. He is definitely very much up there in the best damaging quick loopers in the game. So, you know, I guess now with the title of King of the Cavern is kind of sensible because he kind of reclaims his crown here a little bit. Would I say he's the best quick looper now? Don't think so. Do I say he's an amazing, like, really, or rather really solid neutral looper now? Yes. That's exactly what he is. With this new setup, these numbers are no joke. And again, keep in mind, he can potentially even loop against 2 enemy waves. So that's interesting. Now, on my tier list this year, I had him on an A. Honestly, if obviously that was back then, if I did the tier list before, nowadays, before this buff was live, I would probably place him here, or maybe even here. A bit brutal, but it's just the reality of the current situation with the game. But now, I am actually putting him in A+. After this buff, it is a significant one. Being able to do Black Grail looping is big. Now, the one drawback is, let's talk about that real briefly as well, is that it is a fairly demanding setup, as you might imagine. Not only do you need triple Scotty, obviously one comes from support, but that already requires you to have 3 limited SSRs, right, on your own. You want the Black Grail as well, preferably, you know, the level 100 one, which is used in this calculation for max damage. And the thing I didn't mention, you do need a maxed append. On the second append must be maxed because it's a 30% battery, not a 50% one. You need to start with 50%, so you need to max, not just unlock, but you need to max the second append. So it is a very demanding setup, but I'm sure all the biggest Dantes sims out there already have it anyway. And even if you have MP1 Dantes, getting those coins to unlock the second append isn't like the hardest thing in the world, honestly, if you have no intention to grail him past 100 at the same time. So, yeah, that's like the one drawback here, if anything. But I would say he is now definitely top 5 quick loopers in the entire game. So that's definitely something you should not discount, okay? So I think Dantes is looking a lot better now, even though, yeah, the buff is maybe kind of quote-unquote boring, because it's mostly just a battery. The other effect, in my opinion, won't be that significant. But hey, he is looking A-okay to, you know, the modern version of the game, because he definitely wasn't up to date before this. So there you go. That's pretty much my thoughts in a nutshell from the top of my head. I do like the buff, even though, again, maybe not the most exciting one. It's a very much needed one. That I don't think anyone will argue about. At least in terms of the battery, it was needed, because now he can do that. And very, very cool. Who knows if we'll get an Ushi buff or something else? I'm guessing no, but you know what? Honestly, again, if there will be more buffs, I will be here to cover them. So there you go. I think this will be up after the Ritra gacha video. So that's why I'm still wearing this jacket as well. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, as usual, really helps out if you would press the like button on this video. Definitely subscribe for more, because I'm always going to cover new buffs when they happen. And starting early on next year, which is soon, I'll be posting probably new versions of the tier list of all the characters. And there will be a lot of changes, considering all the stuff that happened this year. So look forward to those. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And a peace out.